Hey guys, this is Neil, your Pinoy Plantito, and welcome to my channel. Today we'll be talking about one of my favorite plants. What could they possibly be? If you have been following this channel for quite some time now, you might probably have observed that I am into bigger plants. That's because small plants will be just lost in this lush greenery in this jungle. But of course, I can make an exception for really cute things like peperomias. What I love about peperomias is their varying appearance and attractive foliage. They are small plants not exceeding 12 inches in height, mostly, and very shallow root system. They are naturally found in tropical and subtropical parts of the world, specifically South to Central America and the Caribbean. Peperomia's color ranges from red, green, gray, purple, variegated marble, etc. The leaf design can be plain, crumpled, glossy, waxy, coarse, and they could be bushy or viney. Although their looks may vary, the one thing that is common to peperomias are having thick and succulent type of stems and leaves, which help them tolerate less watering and low light because it helps the plant store water. Peperomias are known to have unattractive mouse tail-like flowers, but the main attraction of peperomias are not its flowers, but its foliage. So before diving deeper, guys, let's meet first my peperomia babies. And let's identify some of the varieties of peperomias in my collection. Do you know, guys, that there are more than 1,000 varieties of peperomias, but only a few dozen of peperomias are ideal as houseplants. For example, guys, this peperomia is called Peperomia pellucida. This is actually growing wild here in the Philippines, and we call it has a common name. We call it pansitan, but it's actually a variety of peperomia. As you can see, it has succulent type leaves, has also these mouse-like flowers. Peperomia pellucida or pansitan. This black with white or silver design in the middle is called Peperomia metallica. I'm not sure about this one. I think it's a Pelea. I just found out. This is one of my favorite and also one of my earliest peperomia. It's a type of Peperomia caperata, otherwise known as Peperomia ripple, and this is the emerald ripple peperomia. I love it. Well, it got its name from the fact that the leaves have crumpled ripple shape and design, and it has like coarse texture, guys. One is one of the first 4 peperomias I had, and it's about 6 or 7 months old. I love this Peperomia caperata, and it's called a burgundy ripple, or a burgundy caperata, or a burgundy ripple. Look at that, it looks amazing. I love it. And this is a silver moonlight caperata, and I love how it looks, guys. It looks like what's the color of this? Not really like silver, but it's more of like aquamarine, a little bit of silver, and it has yellow variegation. Here's another peperomia. It's called a Peperomia red chinny or a Peperomia claviformis. It's characterized by green design in the middle and lighter color near the edge and a red edge. So some people call this the red chinny or red edge peperomia. Peperomias may either be bushy or vining, like this one. This is a variegated Peperomia scandens, which is pretty common in the Philippines. What I like about the scandens is that it can tolerate direct sunlight, so it's a really good It's a really good hanging plant. The last vertical garden that I made, which is located in a sun exposed area, has this as one of the plant selection there. This is Peperomia obstifolia, variegated. It has, they call it the rubber plant, and this one is not the regular form. It has like a camouflage variegation. This is the other variety of variegated obstifolia that has lighter variegation. And this is the regular form, guys, of the rubber plant or Peperomia obstifolia. Another hanging plant, Peperomia, is this Peperomia scandens, regular form. This one I haven't identified, guys, but it's actually one of my favorite peperomias. It has thick, succulent leaves and stems, and it is very sun resistant. I also have it in my sun exposed vertical garden. So a lot of peperomias don't really exceed a ruler in height, or 12 inches in height. But this one, I think, has the capacity to do that. It used to be like taller, like this, and bigger, and with a lot of leaves. This is called the Peperomia polyborta, and it's originally found in Peru. And it used to be really tall and bigger and has more leaves, but what happened was I placed it under a mango tree, and unfortunately mango fruit dropped on it, and a lot of its leaves were broken and it fell flat on the ground as well, so I had to like put a stick. But I'm glad it's recovering. So initially I thought that this is Pilea peperomias, but actually this is so here's the comparison between the two. This is also called a Peperomia teardrop. Oh, I love this. This got to be one of my favorite peperomias, guys. So far I have already 15 peperomias in my collection, but I still love to have more peperomias. And what are in my wish list? Here they are. Okay, so before diving, guys, into the plant care itself for peperomias, let me just share to you briefly my story with peperomias. All the plants that I have here in my backyard, I have like 90% common plants, which are not fuzzy plants that you can just like insert in the pot and they will live and grow and eventually thrive. Because I'm that kind of gardener, guys, I became really somewhat confident and a little bit arrogant with every type of plants. The first 4 peperomias, which were gifts for me, including the pots. Here's a picture of them. So just the regular things that I did with all other plants here. I planted them in a regular soil, not a mix, guys, just regular, plain regular soil. That's not even like loam, well draining soil. And the pot that was originally given to me for this peperomia is this clay pot with very small hole, and I had like a silty regular soil for this initially. Then, since the peperomias are so small, I didn't put them outside. I put them inside my house. They were my my first house plants, and I put them in my room in the attic, which is very hot, guys, and has very low humidity. And so what happened was, not long after, I found them rotting, initially from the root maybe, but I didn't observe that until the stem becomes black and rotten. And so I got scared. It was the first time that I got scared with any plant, and because these were gifts for me, so I don't want to kill it. So I tried to save them, and I was able to save the 3, but unfortunately I killed the watermelon peperomia, and it was a sad time for me. In fact, it was also a good lesson for me to study about the plants that you intend to grow and take care of. Because I didn't really study about peperomias. The watermelon peperomia was the first plant that I ever killed, and after that I've killed 4 more plants. But it's not much, right, guys? It's not a lot of plants that I killed. I have only killed 5 plants, and one of them is a peperomia. So yeah, that's my story with peperomias, guys. So if you're struggling with peperomias, I totally understand you. It was a very scary time for me when I see my peperomias just dying, and you don't know what's wrong, what's the problem with them, and you don't know what to do. So this video is really for you, because I understand how you feel. So up next, we'll be diving into the plant care for peperomias, and we'll be talking about soil mix, potting and repotting of peperomias, as well as lighting, humidity and watering requirements, and of course pests and diseases. And lastly, we'll have a really quick propagation session. All right, so let's talk about soil mix for peperomias. The ideal soil mix for peperomias, which is really important, guys, because the reason why I killed my peperomia was because of its soil mix. I used just regular soil, which is even clayish or silty. That was the reason for the root and stem rot of my very first peperomias. So basically, guys, the soil requirement for peperomias is a well-draining soil. So as for me, guys, my soil mix consists of 30% bark and charcoal, 30% regular loam or loose soil, 20% acacia leaves, and 20% perlite. Or in the absence of perlite, you can also use sand. And if you have a vermicast, you can also add it to the mix, and that will be pretty good for the peperomias as additional fertilizer. So that's basically my soil mix, guys, and that soil mix is complete already. It has fertilizer, and it has elements that provides for a well-draining soil and organically rich soil, which is really nice for peperomias. So in potting or repotting peperomias, guys, I would highly recommend that you use a pot that has a lot of holes like this, so that the peperomias will have better aeration and faster draining, because their main problem is all about rot. And I heard a lot of people also experiencing the same. Well, draining pot is the best. Now let's talk about repotting. Peperomias don't require to be repotted oftentimes, and the reason for that is because they have very shallow roots, and a lot of these peperomias will have like an inch of root for many years, so you don't even have to repot them for a very long time. The only reason why we repot plants is because their roots are sticking out already and they need a bigger pot, but that rarely happens for peperomias. Just don't be too excited in repotting your peperomias. So let's talk about the lighting requirements for peperomias. Peperomias require bright and direct light. Generally, bright and direct light, but they can tolerate low to medium light as well. The only disadvantage of putting them in a darker area is that they tend to become leggy and they will have very slim stems. But it's still best for them to put them in a bright and direct light, and you will observe them to have more beautiful foliage and faster growth. So all my peperomias receive bright and direct light. Now another important thing that you should be really careful with when it comes to peperomia plant care is watering. And in my case, I would just water my peperomias once or twice, maybe once, not even twice, just once a week, because they are very prone to root rot. You should be really careful not to overwater them. The only time that you should water your peperomias is when half inch of the soil has already dried up. Now let's go to humidity, guys. The truth is, peperomias, guys, can tolerate low humidity, so there is really no problem with that. And their succulent nature helps them to tolerate low humidity. But of course, it is still best for peperomias to be in an area with high humidity, considering that they have tropical origins, and like tropical places have generally high humidity. All right, now let's talk about some pests and diseases of peperomias. I was only able to encounter one pest and one disease so far with my peperomias. There are still more pests and diseases, but I haven't encountered them, so I don't want to talk about them. Let's just talk about those that I had experienced. What did I do? That's all I can share with you guys. Okay, first, the reason why my first 4 peperomias had root rot is through a fungal infection, and it's called a phytium or phytium. And this phytium is a fungal infection that thrives on anaerobic soil that is heavily clogged. That's why it's very, very important that initially when you're planting your peperomia for the first time, you plant it in a good, well-draining soil that has a lot of aeration and a good mix that provides for faster drainage. And of course, the pot with a lot of holes really helps. And the only pests that I was able to encounter, guys, are mealybugs. A lot of people know this, especially those who have been taking care of peperomias for some time now. They know that peperomias are generally resistant to pests. But I was able to encounter mealybugs, and mealybugs are these small white cottony masses. Since I detect the mealybug infestation at the early stage, I just remove them with a stick, like manually, guys. That's how much I love these babies. All right, let's go to propagation, guys. There are 2 ways to propagate peperomias. One is through stem cutting, and the other one is through leaf cutting. It really depends on the variety of peperomias. The general rule is that you take a look at your plant, and if it's somehow a lot of like hard stem like this, it could probably be propagated through stems. And the other ones like this watermelon peperomia that doesn't have a lot of stems but just leaves, covered with leaves, the best way to propagate this is through leaf cutting. So let's have our quick propagation session, guys, and we'll be propagating this peperomia pucculata, which I have water propagated for 1.5 weeks, and so far it has already developed small roots. So what we're gonna do is use this well-draining pot. It has a lot of holes, and our mix, which consists of sand, acacia leaves, charcoal, bark. Basically, an alternative for this will be the regular orchid mix. This is now well-draining soil with really good aeration, and the charcoal is also an antibacterial. Let's talk about some of the symptoms that we can observe with peperomias and what to do about it. First, if you observe that your peperomias leaves are wilting, then it could be due to lack of water. So you just need to water it. And on the other hand, if you observe that your peperomias leaves are yellowing, stems are getting black or darker, then it could be due to over watering. What you gotta do is just to check the roots. Maybe it's a case of a root rot, and maybe change your soil mix in the pot. And lastly, in very, very rare case, some people could also experience peperomias leaves curling, which is very unusual, but it's it's a case of lack of nutrients, maybe some bug infestation. So you just check your plant for that. Peperomias are really easy and rewarding plants to take care of once you get the hang of it. Alright, so I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you learn a lot. And I hope to see your peperomias grow healthy and lush. This has been Neil, your Pinoy Plantito, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye guys!